Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, collectors of all ages, it is Aussieverse. The die is cast, and we are here today live for the last show of 2024. I am OmniBeau, joined by Sharif, and today marks a very special episode because the man that I have wanted to be on here for quite so long has finally graced us with his presence, although he was here last week, but we don't count that. It is Mr. Rob from Rob's Fat Stax. How are you, brother?
I'm great. If the die is cast, though, can I roll advantage?
Is that a D&D reference?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just say yes, okay? Christina, thank you very much for joining us here, as well as sharing the link. Ben Sullivan, let's go, baby. Okay. Rob, how you doing, dude?
I'm awake still. And for those you don't know, you and I were on together for me today.
Yep.
I don't know if that was yesterday for you when we were talking or what, but you've slept somewhere in there. I haven't.
Well, the things we do for love, huh? For those that do not know Rob, he not only has his own YouTube channel, but he is one of the most gracious men that I've ever met, not only personally, but to the whole community. He does run with another two guys, what is called the Comix Curing Cancer Initiative, which is something that happens annually where they get together across multiple YouTube channels and they get many donations from many people, and they run certain shows across these channels and they auction off comics, slabs, artwork, maybe a little bit of toys, maybe some other stuff, and they raise all the money they raise money and it goes all to Comix Curing Cancer in America. This is the third or fourth year, Rob, this year.
So this year is the fourth year, but it's the third year that I've been involved in it as a coordinator. The very first year, the campaign was started by somebody named Cardboard Crazies. He had a member of his family pass away from cancer, and he decided to do a 24-hour marathon to raise money for the American Cancer Society. And he basically sat there and said, okay, hey, we're going to be on for 24 hours. Got some friends like Roscoe and the Rogue Trader and whatnot. And they just brought some stuff together and kind of set out with the goal to raise $2,000. In that 24-hour period, the community came out and they raised $8,000 for the ACS. And that was before it was an official campaign. So it was just him with a GoFundMe page asking people to trust him that the money was going to go where he said it was going, type of thing, right? And still managed to raise $8,000, which was absolutely fabulous. The following year, the American Cancer Society took it on as an official campaign. And then at the same time, his wife got pregnant. He wasn't going to be able to be involved through a series of weird machinations because I was the Rogue Trader was my comic book presser, and I had some kind of deal going on with him, and his wife worked for the American Cancer Society. Somehow I ended up becoming the guy running the shindig. And with that, Mark and DJ graciously kind of jumped in and have been a part of it too since then. And we decided, I'm not doing the 24-hour thing. I'm not trying to keep it all on my channel. I have limited reach. And the way that YouTube and all of these things work is really, it's about getting as many people involved with different reaches. Because even though I can have, my subscriber base could be, everybody's in my subscriber base could also be pretty much in yours, could be in DJ's, could be in Mark's, whatever. Some people don't really watch my stuff. They're subscribers, but they don't watch it. And some people may watch your stuff, but they're subscribers to both of us, but don't, that type of thing happens. And also the way that the algorithm works on Instagram and the way they suggest things, it only sends out to a certain percentage of the people. And then if a certain percentage engage, then it engages a greater percentage. And then, so by leveraging these different layers and getting more and more people involved, we're able to spread that influence out and actually make a much larger impact. So we recruited some different shows to come on, some of our friends, asked them to do a show. Originally, we envisioned it kind of like, oh, you just kind of do like a, You guys may not have them there, but over here in America, uh, in addition to our god awful commercial television, we have public television
Yeah.
that is funded mostly through either local government grants and funds from donations from companies, but also from viewers. And so they do pledge drives periodically, and they'll just hey, we're raising money for this. But so we kind of envisioned it kind of like a pledge drive type of thing, and just kind of instead it kind of took on a life of its own when each show started getting their own product and stuff to raise to auction off and do different things, and it's just kind of evolved to where it is today, where that first year we ran it, we set out the goal to raise $10,000, figuring that was a 20, they'd raised 8,000. 10,000 is a 25% increase, right? Yeah, good. Let's do that. And we ended up raising like $26,000. And so the next year we came out and said, okay, well, we're going to try to raise $25,000, and we raised 50 something $1,000.
Wow.
So this year we came out and said, okay, fine. We're not going to be presumed that we're going to double things again. If we can hit 50,000 again, that'll be amazing. And as of right now, with a few days left in the year, we're at 57,801. So
that is amazing.
Yeah. So we beat our goal. We're working on our stretch. We have a stretch goal of 60,000 that we had hoped to try to hit before the end of the year. So if people want, I saw the link drop there, the Linktree Comix Curing Cancer that Christina dropped. That will take. There's a donate to Comix Curing Cancer, or if you don't want to learn more about it, there's the What is Comix Curing Cancer, which will take you to a video of me explaining what it is. There's all kinds of other stuff, but that donate will take you right to the portal and allow you to donate and help us try to get to that $60,000.
Yeah, man, that is just amazing. This was the first year that I had contributed and watched it myself, and it was such a fun time. Like, even though it's I guess it's not, well, I don't know, you tell me. I guess on one hand it's meant to be a little bit of a fun time, but it's not meant to be a fun thing, it's a serious thing. And you guys have done really well, but I've got to admit, watching the shows, it was a fun time. Even though
you're trying to take something that's a serious matter. Like, cancer sucks. Say it's the ultimate supervillain, right? When we take it in the comic book context, everybody, the time that we've been working with this, is like when you talk to people, everybody, especially when I'm talking to artists and stuff and trying to get them involved and stuff, everybody has a story and they tell you their story, whether it's them, a family member, a loved one, a friend, or whatever. Everybody has a story. And that's the problem, is that it affects everyone and everyone can relate to it, which does help us in that it makes it where people, because everybody can relate, it's a super great cause. It allows people to feel good about helping out with that. And we've really done our part to try to engage the community and make members of both the Instagram and YouTube community feel like they're a part owner of this thing, that like we all do together. Getting them all involved is just, and having them do the shares and everything else lets everybody get involved in it. So it is a fun time for us to come together as a group and show what this community is really capable of while taking on a supervillain like cancer. Okay. So JSS Brooklyn's asking, at what point do we donate financially only, or other items for 2025 auction go to count towards stretch goal? So for this year, donating financially through the portal, that goes to the stretch goal up until December 31st. January 1st, basically the portal gets shut down, and it'll be down for probably about 2 weeks or so while the ACS resets everything, and then we get started with the 2025 campaign. Obviously during that time, anything that goes through the merch store, that stuff still gets collected separately in a pot that'll eventually be donated into the 2025 year. And then item donations, those things are all eventually when we start collecting those, that'll be all for the 2025 year. So it's really just right now stuff directly to the portal is the only thing that will go towards the stretch goal for this year.
So at the start of the video, I said that you're one of the most gracious people I've met. It's not just to blow smoke up your ass, but the truth is that I was blown away on a personal level, because at one point you sent me a whole box of chili sauces for free, which wouldn't have been cheap. And I'm so grateful for that. Go check out that video on Aussieverse. But the reason why I'm bringing that up is because every YouTube channel that is somewhat monetized does have memberships. For example, we have ours that are called For Lifers. We want to thank these people because they are paid members, and we are
nice segue. That was a brilliant segue, by the way.
Thank you very much. And just remember, though, that being a paid member is not required. The best way to support Aussieverse is by liking the videos and subscribing. Now, as great as we love these people that are For Lifers and Aussieverse, if you go to Rob's YouTube channel, you will see under the description that all of the money that he makes, whether it be from memberships, super chats, merch, where does that go, Rob?
It all goes to support comics curing cancer. So I said a long time ago, well before, back, I feel like an old hat was back in my day, in order to get monetized, there was only one monetization, and you had to have 1,000 subscribers and 500 watch hours or whatever, average, whatever. And so when I always, leading up to that mark, I always said, I don't care about that stuff. I'm not here to make money off of YouTube. I wasn't going to monetize anything. And then several people, as I started getting, going to go, why would you let you Google just take your money then? Because they're going to still make money. Why not take the sharing from some of the stuff? And if nothing else, just give it to charity or something. And so yeah, that was a good idea. So, as I got involved with Comics Curing Cancer, and the channel became monetized, it was okay, let's just do that. Let's make everything just go there. And, and what we did initially, it was all getting donated every month directly into the ACS portal. But then what happens is when we do our auctions, we have no method of collecting payment for shipping. So the way that everything works for Comics Curing Cancer is everybody makes payments directly through the donation portal to the ACS. That money goes to ACS. It doesn't touch, we never touch it. We don't see any of it. It doesn't pass through our hands. So we have no way to collect money for shipping on these items unless we were to try to tell people, oh, go pay us now separately for shipping, which would suck. And it'd be a logistical nightmare. So we made the decision that we were just going to donate the shipping. And that was fine in year one. Year two came around and the shipping costs exceeded like $1,500. And so that was like, I can't continue to eat that on top of the fact that I donate, tons of books out of my PC and everything else that we're doing. So the decision was made. We made an announcement to all the channel membership and everybody. And now it's clearly stated that what we do is the channel members and all the super chats that happen on my channel throughout the year, that all gets accumulated. We track it. The three of us have access to the tracker, sees the pool. And that's what we use to cover all of our expenses throughout the year. So all of our shipping supplies, all the top loaders that we end up getting for all the original art, because all the original art ships in top loaders and stuff, all the shipping costs, which this year was over $2,300 in shipping costs, US dollars. So what's that, about 3,000 Australian?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So it's a chunk of money, but at the end, which we did this year, we said, okay, we got to the end, we paid all of our expenses. What's left? We had about $570 left over. So that then went into the donation pool at Comics Curing Cancer as coming from the Fat Stax YouTube channel. It was posted there. It was posted to all the channel members, everything. And we have an auditable log, which we have of all the expenses with receipts and everything that went through there. So we can, if anybody has questions about it, we can sit down and review it all. But so it's all on the up and up. But that's what we do now. So it all goes to support the efforts. So that way we can continue to do things like offer free shipping on all this stuff that happens through there. So people, especially for you guys in Australia or international folks, stuff,
Yeah.
that's huge, man. No, you guys don't have to do that. Only thing you have to deal with is potentially having to pay a little bit of customs and duties if you get really carried away and go over whatever $200 or something like that. I think it is, but
Yeah, that blew me away because the one purchase that I made this year was a $50 US 50. So it was about $75 Australian, a sketch cover from Izzy. And when I bought it, I wasn't aware that it was free shipping. And when I said, yeah, I'll give $50 and forgot it was USD, I went, oh, it was 75. And like I was poor at the time. And I went, oh, well, can't back out now. It's for a good cause and all that. Then I thought about shipping and I went, oh, no. Oh, God, and you guys are like free shipping. And I went, next year I'm buying more. Why not? That's just incredible.
Yeah, so it's really thanks to the channel. The channel members really make that possible, along with actually the ones who really do the channel members and the super chats during our Saturday show, Only Slabs. That is overwhelmingly where 98% of the revenue comes from. To be able to fund all of our shipping costs as well as our material expenses, because there's a lot of shipping material. I have to buy a lot of boxes and stuff because you can't only save up so many crap Amazon boxes and shit throughout the year, right? I have to go get proper packing material stuff. Everybody who opens up a package goes, damn, look at the way Rob packs stuff. This is the way it should be done. Well, it's because we go out and get the right materials to do it, right? So and then that's how your stuff arrives in Australia in one piece.
So because when I watched it, there's obviously only so many people that we each know individually commenting, like I can say, I know this guy, I know this guy, I know this guy that's commenting on the stream here. But obviously with Comix Curing Cancer, you will get the random people that you don't know. You will get a random name, like let's just say Beau, for example.
Mm-hmm.
How have you dealt with people not following the rules and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, people bid and buy stuff, but then they forget to follow through and say, hi, I'm Beau, by the way, here's my address.
Yeah. So, I mean, what's fortunate is while everybody makes their money payroll into the system, I have access to all the names and addresses there. So one of the most difficult things behind the after the auction event that goes on that's very difficult for me is that correlation of taking every item that's been sold over that 3-day weekend and matching it to the payments that are in the system, because people are logging in their legal names in that system. Sometimes they're nice enough to leave also their other name or their email address correlates to their YouTube name. But what's entered on our sheets as we're doing these things live is people's YouTube names. And sometimes we know who that is and sometimes we don't. And what's even worse is sometimes when you're trying to match this up is, somebody gets like, for example, let's say you, Beau. Somebody might on one stream, you bid on one item, they write down OmniBeau, and the next one they just write down Beau, and then or in an Aussieverse, and all these things. When I go to try to sort them and shuffle them, I have to go through first and try to fix all those things just so you can sort. When you're trying to do these pick lists and whatnot. So,
oh, you're frozen. Oh.
I think I'm here.
And you're back. You're back.
Yep.
I was always here. But so there's like 2 days worth of reconciling spreadsheets and data and stuff that goes on. But at the end of the day, we've never really had a problem with somebody not paying. So far, everybody's jumps on. We ask people to go pay right away. Most of the shows are checking that as it goes on. It's usually more of at the end of the day, like this year, where I go, okay, I've got these 3 items to this person and I don't know who they are, and try to put out shout outs to people, say, hey, does anybody know this person? If so, let them know. And eventually those people reach out and go, hey, I haven't seen or heard about my things yet. And you go, oh, you're one of the people we've been trying to get a hold of. please confirm your address and stuff, and we go and we get it and taken care of. It's all done. So yeah, nobody has tried to short us on anything yet so far. Thank you.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
So you're not left with any packages to wondering where these are going.
I mean, just for a couple of weeks, maybe at most, but eventually it all got rectified.
Yeah, it seems like the 3 years that you've been involved with Comix Curing Cancer, you've pretty much have it down pat. That doesn't sound like you're you're experiencing any more challenges than you would normally do.
There's always challenges that are new. We try to learn from our as we go, but with everything, there's just so many moving parts, and we keep, there's things that go on that, some the challenges may be the same all the time or very similar. Sometimes the biggest challenge is remembering is how did I solve that problem last year? Because unfortunately I haven't really written a good process guide, so it's really kind of like just up here.
Yeah. So when does it start back up again?
So it started up again about 3 or 4 weeks ago. we shortly after we wrapped up the auction and got everything shipped out, we started meeting, having not frequent meetings, but we've had a couple of meetings on our background plan, starting some of our early plans for certain things. We had to make our decision about Heroes Con, because yes, we are going to be tabling at Heroes Con again this year. Starting to get wheels in motion for, okay, what are we going to do? What are we going to have at the booth type stuff? Those types of things all have to get going on. If, discussions about whether or not we're going to try to have an exclusive or not, those things you have to plan so far out that all those discussions are going on as we speak.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the big push, like for items and stuff, that we need to, we're starting our push with some of our artists pretty early, because we're learning every year that the artists want more and more time. And for an item perspective, we're going to probably start pushing for that stuff around the beginning of June. Late May, early June, we'll start talking about it. I mean, if people have things ahead of time that they want to send ahead of time, I'll probably start setting up space to start collecting some stuff. But I have to balance that stuff. Ends up taking up a lot of space in my facilities here, and I have to balance how long I'm going to store and sit on that stuff versus how long do I want to have myself time to be able to actually analyze and go through it. So.
Yeah, cool. Hey, Sharif, do you have any slabs?
Not that I know of, no.
There's the gentleman's called Rob's Fat Stax. Do you know why he's called Rob's Fat Stax?
Because it's got stacks and stacks of slabs.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Stacks of comics. It's the channel is actually Rob's Fat Stacks of Comics. As in, I got big stacks of comics. It just gets shortened to just Rob's Fat Stacks. But yeah, so there's a lot of there you go. Rob's Fat Stacks of Comics.
So Rob, how long ago did you start your channel?
Long enough that X's were really cool to use instead of C and S.
That was a great answer. So for those that don't know, or if you are a little blind and can't see behind Rob, he has some amazing books. We're going to go through some of them in just a moment, but we did get a request from, I think it was JSS Brooklyn. Yeah, it was. He wants to know about your Only Slabs show, which you can see here in the thumbnails.
Yeah. So every Saturday on my channel, first of all, its focus is on collecting. We're not here to talk about speculation. I'm not really there to talk about drama in the community or stir up drama in the community or speculate on this movie trailer. None of that garbage. It's about collecting comics pretty much. Twice a week I've dropped videos where I'm pre-recorded, usually focused on me and items I've picked up for my collection. Occasionally there's some product reviews and stuff that are tied into collecting comics or advice. And then there is my Saturday show, which is a live stream called Only Slabs. And that is a collector showcase where we have different collectors from the community come on, and they bring, roughly about 24 comics, graded comic books from their collection to bring on the show. And we interview them, get to know them, have them show off their books. We talk about the books, why they're important, either historically or to them. Talk about some of the stories about collecting those books, how they came to acquire those books, stuff. And so we get to learn about that collector through their collection. And so that's our big thing. It's a 90-minute show, starts at 11:30 a.m. Pacific, 2:30 p.m. Eastern in the United States. I think that's right, 4:30 in the morning your time right now, right?
It's pretty late. It's pretty late.
Or early.
Yeah, I know it says early. Yeah, I know it says join here because currently I'm logged in through my Aussieverse site, but OmniBeau is definitely a Goon Squad member, so I think you need to start adding Aussieverse here, FYI. But moving on,
so it's weird. So there's two things with it. When you put those in there, that only displays a certain number of them. No matter how many I add, there's only so many to display there. There's another spot where it randomly picks channel members and displays. Like, so if you scroll down like a little bit, right here. So it randomly displays channel members there, and then the Goon Squad. Yeah, so it just randomly just channel members, and then the Goon Squad specifically, which I have called out, those that only displays so many. You can hit view all. I don't know if I think even if you go through it all, you can still only see so many. But I try to keep this updated as much as possible. So there you are. Yeah, you're listed there.
Sweet. Okay, I just wanted to be part of the cool quiz. So, Rob, what got you into slabbing comics as opposed to just collecting certain issues? Okay.
Yeah. So I do collect raw books. I mean, the fact that the reality situation is 90% of my collection is raw books, but roughly close to 10% are slabbed. And that's actually quite a bit when you have, around 10,000 comic books. So yeah, I have a bunch of slab books. You know what it was? I started collecting comic books, just raw books. If I didn't have any graded books, and my sister pulled me to a local Comic-Con, and it was my first time going to a convention. And while we were there, she was finding new ways to spend my money. And we were at a booth that had all these slabs, and I had never seen graded comics before. I knew of them, but I never seen one. And while I was there, I pulled the trigger and I bought my first 2 slabs. I bought a copy of Wolverine #1. This wasn't this. Yeah, it wasn't this one. The one I picked up was a 9.4, but it was that issue. And then a copy of Guardians of the Galaxy #1, first appearance of Taserface. It was those 2 slabs I picked up, and those were my first 2 slabs. And then from there, I just kind of started learning more about them and started sending books off to go get graded. I was doing a lot of books initially with PGX. Because they were cheap, and I was doing a lot of just modern. I mean, I was doing some with CGC as well through my LCS the first go round. I wasn't sending them direct and stuff because I didn't know anything about it. Meanwhile, I was watching videos about them and learning about slabbing and all that other stuff myself. And I just really kind of enjoy it because some of the books I pick up to read, there's a lot of comic book stuff I pick up because I also just love the art. And so it was kind of like a preservation thing. And like a lot of people early on, I fell into the trap of grading way too many modern variants. And so I have tons and tons of that shit. And that's mostly what a lot of my PGX stuff is modern variant stuff. So I don't feel so bad because that stuff's just like all super cheap to grade. It's not worth a lot of money. So I don't feel bad about it, whatever. I don't know. But then over time you just kind of change. You become more sophisticated, and you start going after bigger books and keys and all the other stuff. And so now probably what I grade is probably at least 70% older books now, and still send in some modern stuff to get graded from time to time.
So for those that don't know, what makes Rob's channel exciting for people that do want to win things is a lot of YouTube channels do give away stuff semi-regularly, regularly, or only for milestones. Like Aussieverse will only do it for milestones. But on Rob's show, he gives books away. Is it every week, Rob?
Well, so if you're talking about, so on the Saturday show, and we'll come back, JSS has got a question. We'll come back to JSS's question. But so the on Only Slabs, yes, we do. One of the things that I decided early on when we were doing the show, and we'll come back to, we can even talk about how Only Slabs came to be and everything, the concept for that. But essentially, one of the ways I decided that early on, I said, I'd like to get people, want to encourage people to watch this live. And so you needed to have a hook to try to get people. So I said, let's give away some comics. People have to be there live for the only people. You can watch the rewind, whatever, fine. But and the books to enter the contest completely free. I'll ship it globally. I don't care. But you have to be there live to participate. You're trying to drive that live viewership. And that's how it I just started giving away books. It was a lot of modern variants, and it was stuff that I was getting from mystery boxes and stuff that I didn't want for myself. And then over time, I've just slowly started going, I want better stuff in there. I want to give away better stuff. And so now I spend probably half of my time that I spend looking for comics is spent looking for comics just to give away.
That was the point that I was getting at. It's not just random books that, don't get me wrong, free is great regardless of what books they are. But since I've been watching you, every single book that you've given away has either been some sort of a key or an amazing. Just
this week, right? We picked up that Hulk killed Wolverine, newsstand throw in there. We pulled a new first Darkhawk, right? We went and grabbed a first Forge. That's going in there. There's that first Taserface we talked about.
Yeah.
Right. First Malekith. First Soul Strangler. And so I like grabbing bronze and a lot of Bronze Age books and stuff, and older copper. First Shriek. These things are cool to put in there. And little minor keys. First Bloodsport. They're just fun. It's something a little bit better than just your random stuff. There's the first Star Wars book in Dark Horse, Dark Empire. Or there you go. Want some Beavis and Butthead? First Beavis and Butthead in comics, and first Daria. What was it? First Speedball.
Yep.
And first Mark Bagley doing Spider-Man.
Was it?
It was just a. Yep.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
And first Brother Blood. So these are just stuff that you find that I like to pick up and try to get some good deals going and get a bunch of keys or cool older books. A mix of that stuff are really cool. If it's right nowadays, if it's a modern book, it's really something that's usually got a really cool cover to it, a variant cover that you're trying to throw in there just to make it so different. And that's where we kind of go like, hey, this is the best giveaway box, and on at least best weekly giveaway box. So
there's been a couple of times, just to promote another channel out there, Mad Spidey. He does a weekly community live chat for Australians. That's every Sunday. I think it's at 11 a.m. every Sunday. And I know you don't do it every week, Rob, but one of the things that I do, I take a bit of pleasure in just being a part of, is Rob will pull out a box of comics, and he will randomly go around the panel, and he will start his finger here, and he will go up and he will go down, and whoever's talking at the moment, let's say it's me, I'll say stop, and then Rob will pull out the books, and by the time it's all over, we essentially get to vote what books goes in to the free books that are going to be given away on Rob's channel, and it's really fun. I love it.
Oh yeah,
we do have a couple of questions for you.
Yeah.
JSS says, who do you think is the best grading companies besides CGC, or is it CGC?
Well, I think best is subjective, right? I mean, they're definitely, CGC is the 5,000 pound gorilla, right? They have the lion's share of the business. They're the ones who the majority of the collectors, when they go to pick up slabbed comics, no matter what they say, myself included, you find yourself gravitating towards a CGC book over a CBCS or a PGX or somebody else's book if it's available. And they garner more money on the resale market. Not to say that they're better. I mean, they have their share of issues, but they've just built themselves that market share. And CBCS has had opportunities as the number 2 to overtake them. But every time in the last couple of years where CGC has stumbled and CBCS had the option, they literally just didn't know what to do and fumbled the ball and just kind of said, no, we don't want it. We don't want to gain market share, and found a way to screw it up every single time. And so it's disheartening. It's hard to sit there and put too much faith in them. I use them for certain niche things, but that's about it. And now there's talks of them being acquired with a new company, everything else. Who knows? PGX first has had, I think that they get an unfair amount of grief. Yeah, they had issues at one point in their past. They've been addressed, and they moved on. But people still focus on things that happened 15 years ago when they talk about them. CGC doesn't have that problem. CGC screws up this week, and next week it's all forgotten and forgiven. It's really weird from that aspect. I have had a lot of books graded with PGX, so I can tell you that, and I've done a lot of switching grades, and again, it's not a scientific method. For the most part, I will tell you that the grades seem to be fairly on par these days. The important thing to remember with any of these grading companies is they all use the same scale, but how they apply that scale is different. So they're not apples to apples. It's apples to pomegranates, right? Mm-hmm. But the one thing I will say is, in all my time I had over 300 slabs done with PGX. I had roughly a 12% rework rate. So roughly 12% of the slabs had to go back and be reworked for one reason or another, because it didn't seal right, whether the slab was warped, the book wasn't in there properly. There's just little things that happen. So they did have, in my opinion, a much higher rework rate based on my personal experience. And I had a large sample size. I've had way more CGC books done, and I've had barely anything reworked with CGC. So from that aspect, I will say it's legit. But anything you're doing if you send books to be graded, it's a third party. That's the idea behind it, is to have somebody else say, this is what we think the book is as far as a grade goes, so you guys can turn around and determine whether or not what a fair sale price is. But at the end of the day, there's big differences in slab quality and everything else. So grading companies should be trusted. That's a great bit of strange saying. That's absolutely right. And the only thing I have, and I think that's absolutely true, my problem is that I think that right now today, the way that the trust is being applied, like CGC gets a blank pass. Pretty much everybody complains about whatever the issue of the week is, but they immediately absolve them of all blame and continue to trust them as the top dog, which is a little odd. I'm not saying they shouldn't be considered the top dog. I'm just saying it's just really odd to me how easily people give them a pass for everything. PGX also missed trimming restoration. Yeah, I've heard that complaint and stuff, and I can't speak to any of that. I've never had any books that were on that end, and I don't know from what era. All I can say is that from the books I've done in the last 5 to 7 years, I think they've been pretty, at least the stuff that's been done out of Oregon was pretty squared away. They had a small window where they had another grader doing stuff on the East Coast of the United States, and there was some shady stuff. There wasn't any. I can't say that what he did was shady necessarily. I only know that he was selling books that he was grading, and that in its own right invokes a lot of questionable things when you start saying, "Oh, I'm grading these and now I'm selling them." I don't care how much integrity you think you have. That just seems kind of wrong.
Sketchy. Yeah.
Yeah.
We do have somebody in the chat here that seems to want to know if Darkhawk #1 is worth much. And before answering that, I guess what I'd like you to incorporate in this answer, if you can, Rob, is how is the best way for people that don't really know how to find out how much things are worth? What's the best advice that you can give there? So 2 questions.
Yeah, well, so determining value on a book, I mean, you can look and the biggest thing that people will tell you is look at what is there's various different online resources that you can use to track that do tracking of sales and can give you stuff. Go Collect is one that's popular. There's GPA, there's Cover Price, but most of those focus on graded comics, and some of them and they all have certain things that are good about them and bad about them. Cover Price does try to track raw books as well now and separate them into kind of near mints and mid grade and low grade type stuff. But yeah, the data is somewhat sketchy. But with all that stuff, you can use resources like that. Another popular one is people just go on eBay and they look up last sold, and they look at what the last sold on a book was and try to determine and look at that. The thing is, when you look at last sold, I don't like last sold prices by themselves because they can be anomalous. I like to take several prices and take an average. Obviously, a 90-day average is typically better, is a better indication of what things are doing on that. But there's a lot of tools that you can use to try to look at that. Darkhawk one, I don't know what the trend is on it right now. I bet you it's maybe a $10 book. And it's not a big book, but it's a minor key, and that's what I love to put in the box.
Yeah, exactly right. Sharif, what are 3 key books that if you forget money, if money wasn't an issue, if you could go out and buy 3 key books today, what would they be? Because I'm interested to see if Rob has those. And it isn't to test what Rob has. It's to test if he has the 3 books that you would buy.
I'd say, I think it's Fallout 4, first appearance of Miles.
I see that on the near his shoulder. Yeah, there you go.
What else would be really up there? Probably Hulk 181.
Okay.
Drawing a blank. Yeah.
Really put you on the spot.
Hey, you want your GSX1, or you want to? So obviously I have the first Miles. I do not have a Hulk 181. I have a Hulk 180, the first appearance of Wolverine.
I was going to say that, but I didn't want to start that controversy.
There's no controversy. It's the first appearance. No. Hold on. Is Wolverine in 180?
Yes, exactly. Yes. I agree.
Did 180 come out before 181?
Well, 180 would have come out. Yeah.
Ergo, first is first. Now, that does not mean that it's the money book. Universally, the community has decided that Hulk 181 is the big money book. It's his first cover appearance. It's the first full appearance where he appears throughout the book. Hulk 180 has been deemed a cameo.
Yeah.
My definition of cameo is fine. It's still first. However you choose to slice and dice it, it's still first. It just means that it's not going to be the big money book. That's all. And that's fine. And a cameo, and a way to think about it as a cameo is if you took that character away if you took that book out of, or that character out of the book, does it significantly change the story being told? In the case of 180, no. Wolverine only shows up in the last page. If you take that page out, it doesn't significantly change the story up to that point. 181, if you take them out, yes, it significantly changes the story. It's a first full appearance. So
okay, then when's the first full appearance? Oh, sorry, no, not full. When is the first appearance of Venom in your eyes?
Okay, so by that same standards, really, the modern day interpretation of 300 being the first Venom is correct. It's not how it was. That's the first full appearance. The first appearance in comics is arguably 298, where we have the panel, we see just a hand, essentially, and then 299, because growing up as a kid, 298 was the first cameo appearance of Venom, and 299 was the first appearance of Venom, and then 300 was just the second appearance when I was growing up as a kid. That has changed over time, but to now where people consider 299 as a cameo, and if 298 might be another cameo, or they don't even count it at all. But
yeah, see, because I love my copy of 300 because it was a gift from a friend, so it's always got a special place in my heart. Plus Venom being like my top two characters, But I'd be lying if I didn't say that, in my opinion, 299 is the first appearance, because it is, in my opinion. I'm not going to count the hand.
Right. Okay, that's fair. But so let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
What is Venom?
What is Venom? Oh, hang on. Oh, so you're talking about the costume versus Eddie Brock in the costume.
Because we have because we do not have other Venoms such as Flash Thompson?
No. That's first Flash Thompson Venom.
No, but would you really condense it right to the symbiote and not? That's what I'm saying.
These are the fun arguments you can have, right?
Yeah.
You could sit there and technically argue that the first appearance of the symbiote is technically the first appearance of Venom. Because Venom, well, that's the first time it's explained, his origin. It's not his first appearance. You gotta remember, Secret Wars 8 came out like almost a year after the Splat costume was around.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. What tape? What? A lady.
Isn't Venom a web or spectacular first? But it was a lady. I don't
know about that one.
Yeah.
So
these are just fun things that you can argue when you get into things, right? It's just like all these things, you can nerd out about.
Hang on, I get to use this for the first time. It is completely incorrect. You have the right to your opinion, but it does not fall in line with mine. But
obviously the general acceptance is that 300 is the first full appearance. That's the general consensus today, whether or not you want to do. I argue with you still only 35 cents, Dave, that by my same logic that I just used to explain why 180 is a cameo for Wolverine, that it applies the same for 299. If you he only shows up in the last panel, and if you take that panel out, it does not affect the rest of the story. Ergo, it's a cameo.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Rob, do you have Suspense Comics number 3? And what is the significance for that one, please?
I do not. I don't even know off the top of my head. I don't know that one.
Foom 2 is really first? First what? You've lost me there, Dave. Technically the same as first appearance of Apocalypse. Shows up as a shadow prior to first appearance. A shadow. Wow, we're really getting...
there we go.
You did that.
Those are the things like That's like Dark Side on the monitor. There's all kinds of weird stuff. Yeah, you can really get. You can get in. I mean, some of the really esoteric ones, when you start going to like Batman Beyond, it's a really convoluted as to where his first appearance really is and the timelines and stuff. And it's like there's all kinds of weird shit.
I think the original Black Costume is incredibly hard because you've got like 4 issues that fight over which one was the first one.
Well, because you ultimately have these things where publication back then, it wasn't as rigid as it was today. Publication distribution channels were a little bit looser with the way things are. That's why you have things like first Gambit conversations, right? All the time, where it's like there's the book that was intended to be the first appearance, and then there's the one that hit the street first. And so which one is the first appearance? I mean, is it the one that hit the street first, or is it the one that was meant to be in the story, chronologically in the story, and intended to be the first? Is that the first? Those are the things that will come up and will drive collectors insane and give us things to argue about. But the reality of the situation is just own both.
This discussion brings me to the time where I'm sorting out the episodes for TMNT, the 1980s TV show, in order, and it was the screening date, and then as opposed to the episode production number, where it doesn't match up. So it got to me where should it be listed as the day that it was the date that it was aired, or the episode number that is supposed to be, but not aired in the number in the episode number. I just
Foom 2 is first Wolverine. Okay, I didn't know that. Spidey $2.99 is more than one panel for Venom, so not a cameo.
I didn't say
no, Dave, we're taking you very seriously. Everything you say is incredibly serious. Sorry.
So we circle back to how Only Slabs came to be.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Yeah. So as I eventually had started collecting more and more slabs, and was doing a YouTube show, and I was looking for something to have as a regular kind of like a cornerstone showcase show or whatever. But at the same time, I posted a picture on Instagram of just my warehouse racking in my garage, and one racking, it was nothing but slab boxes, and I was just saying, this is all just slab boxes, and there was like 13 boxes of slabs, and somebody suggested, oh, you should maybe do a show, go through and show off all your slabs. And that kind of how the show at the time called Slab Hub came to be. It was like, okay, I'll take my box to slab, I'll do 1 box a week, and I'll go through the box. And I said, I can't just do that by myself, that's boring. And then I ended up getting connected with Chris, the comic vet. We hadn't done anything yet, but through a mutual friend had recommended him. He came on. We instantly kind of had great chemistry, talking about the books and stuff. And we just went through 1 box a week until I went through all 13 boxes of my slabs. And then after that, he pulled out his slab. We went through all his boxes of his slabs. And then we said, hey, that was fun. Let's keep this going. Let's start having guests come on. We started inviting friends on. And that's how the show came to be. And eventually the name changed, thanks to some legal shenanigans. But surprisingly had nothing. The problem had nothing to do with the adult entertainment site that we were parodying. The problem came from a comic book presser who was using the same name and a similar logo design, that he decided that he wanted to do stuff on YouTube, and that I was using it, and therefore I was somehow infringing on his name or something. And so we had some discussions, and eventually I just changed the name to Only Slabs.
And remember, if you do buy any of Rob's merchandise, that all goes straight to Comix Curing Cancer.
That's not true. Hold on. We're going to clarify. all the profit from the items goes to Comix Curing Cancer.
Oh yeah, sorry. The shop gets a cut. Yeah, of course.
There's the cost of goods, which is covered. Or in the industry we call COGS. So that's covered, and then all the proceeds or the profit from the item, that all goes to Comix Curing Cancer. So
yeah. I've got to get.
And that's regardless of whether it's a Comix Curing Cancer shirt, whether it's a Fat Stax shirt or only slabs or whatever. Yeah, and don't forget, there's the limited edition 2024 shirts that have the Austin LeMay cover art from our art book this year. All that product goes away at the end in just about 5 days from now.
Oh, where's that one?
It should be when you go to the fatstaxmerch.com. It should be at like the top row, I think. It's not
on the YouTube.
Yeah, no, just go to fatstaxmerch.com.
All right.
So Dave was asked, while you're doing that, Dave asked, how did Chris and I first meet and decide to partner? So I was doing a different show called Sidekicks Talk Comics with a buddy of mine. And we were doing during that. He's no longer doing YouTube and stuff. But yeah, that stuff right there, that's all the 2024 limited editions merch. So we were doing a show called Sidekicks Talk Comics. Like I said, I posted that picture, decided we were going to do a show. I reached out to my buddy to see if he wanted to do this with me. He goes, I'm already doing one show with you, and I got other things in my fryer. My wife's asking me to spend time with her. But I know this guy, Chris, and he has great comic knowledge. I think you guys would be great together or whatever else. And so through him, I was introduced to Chris and pitched Chris my idea, and he kind of thought, well, I don't know. He hadn't been doing YouTube yet. And he decided, but he wanted to get into it, but he just didn't want to. He hadn't done anything on his own. So he said, what the hell, he'd give it a shot and see what happens. And that was it. Legends were born.
I hadn't noticed your mug before, which I'm a huge fan of now. Saying, what was it? I just saw it then. I love comics.
Comics copy and maybe 3 people.
3 people, yeah.
Maybe 3 people.
I like that. I like that a lot. So quick question for Rob. I'm a collector and a seller. And he is a seller. This guy's got some fantastic books, man. Mm-hmm. Troy, there is a million books that I want to buy off you. Where are the mates' rates, dude? I am a collector and a seller and looking at moving into slabbing a lot of my PC books. Would you recommend slabbing books now while the market is at a buyer's market, or keep purchasing inventory and slab later?
Yeah, I mean, so I think there's also the thing you have to take into account. Also, there's a big move towards there's a lot less people who are, how do I phrase this right? There's a resurgence in raw. So while there's still a lot of people who buy and sell slabbed comic books, there is a fair amount of growing interest again in people trying to find some of these books raw. Whether that's because they think they can get them a better value, or whether they actually want to read them, or they just don't like slabs, whatever the case is, there's definitely been some more increased uptick in that. So I would probably say right now, well, the market's down. If you're depending on what your cost of acquisition is, if grading a comic is going to add additional cost to it, and you don't think you're going to be able to get enough ROI out of it, it's not like a major key, then I probably would hold off for now. Hold off on those minor keys and other books like that are more fluctuating. Keep them raw, and you can always, if a book suddenly starts going bonkers, you can always grade it later or something. But if all of a sudden it's worth value, but let the person who's buying it deal with whether they want to grade it or not necessarily. On the bigger books, though, I tend to say grade it, especially, and it also really kind of depends upon how you're selling those books. Because I'll tell you that, especially the bigger the book, if I'm buying it online, the less I want to buy it raw. there's just too many things where I don't know. Is that book complete? Has it been restored? Has there been color touch? Has it been trimmed? Has it been, are all the pages there? Whatever the case is. Even looking at, and people post pictures, see pictures for details. Doesn't matter how good of a picture you post, it's difficult to see the details. So if you're selling it exclusively online, I really prefer to get my bigger books that way graded where I know what the deal is, or at least have a better assessment of what the deal with that book is. I have taken gambles with bigger raw books in the past online. I've probably batting 50-50 on how those have turned out for me. But if you're selling at a convention or a comic show or something, then it's a different ball of wax, because then raw books, people can see it, they can experience them and see for themselves truly what the condition is of those books, in which case then even the bigger books you can leave raw, let somebody else deal with that, make your money and move on. If it helps you to turn your inventory faster, that's what's key, right? Is ultimately at the end of the day, as a seller, there's a balance of maximizing your profit versus turning inventory. The longer that book is sitting in CGC or is at a higher price where there's less people who are going to buy it, the more your money is tied up in that inventory, and you can't go acquire new inventory to sell. And I'm not a reseller, but I understand these elements of business. So,
no, I see these arguments quite often. I'm a mod of another group, which is quite popular in Australia, and unfortunately, you do have these arguments every now and then where people buy a book, they have been given the pictures, but then when they receive the book, it's not what they saw in the picture. Not to say that the seller is lying, it's just that you can't tell everything in those pictures.
Look, right. I mean, when I take pictures, right, I can either accentuate, I can make damage look better, or I can make it look almost non-existent, depending upon the angle that you take the picture at, the angle where your lighting is. All those types of things can be, whether it's in the bag, is it in Mylar, is it out of Mylar? All those types of things can muddy the picture, right, of what is reality. So those all go into play. So hence, again, when if I'm buying on eBay, you can only put so much faith in those pictures that are there, or even if you ask for additional pictures, you're limited. They can be, and of course, God forbid, even worse if somebody starts retouching, right? It's really easy these days to retouch or hit the auto enhance, and all of a sudden now the color on that book is different than what it really was, what it really is, right? So,
yeah, that's a good point. So for people like Dave from Still Only 35 Cents, obviously in the name, he's a huge fan of those comics, the Still Only 35 Cents.
Copper Age, right?
Yeah. So for yourself, obviously you would assume just by looking at your background, you would assume that you're only into keys and first appearances, but that's not true, is it?
No. I mean, that just happens to be what's displayed on the you see mostly on the wall. I mean, if you go up, so the wall goes up higher, and there's Golden Age books up there, a lot of sci-fi stuff, and there's some first issues and stuff, but there's nothing that's necessarily a major key, so to speak. But
yes, there is.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's big books up there. What are you talking about? But I have lots of books that are just, they're important books, because of the art or the artist or whatever else you like. Or I'm really into I like Atomic Age sci-fi stuff. So, like I have a ton of Atomic Age sci-fi books that are slabbed solely because they got painted art covers or whatever else. And I think the art is beautiful on the books, and I want to preserve that. But yeah, for obviously, for display purposes, I mean, these books, they go in chronological order, and yeah, they're some of the biggest bangers, that are out there that people get excited about. You start talking about, some of these keys today from Silver Age, Bronze Age, Modern Age books, that.
So Mad Spidey, that is, has made me aware of a book that you're after. So I'm keeping my eyes peeled if I ever do see it. And that is the newsstand edition of Spider-Man 2099 #1 in a Halo slab. Is that correct?
Oh, wow. In a Halo slab. I would love to get one. I don't care if it's newsstand or direct, actually, to be honest.
Okay.
Because I don't have one in Halo, and I do love Spider-Man 2099. It's one of my favorite characters. Because I do have a newsstand in a 9.6. But newsstands from 1992 are rather difficult to acquire. They're not commonplace. But yeah, I would love to find one in a high grade 9896 in a Halo. That'd be awesome. I don't own a single Halo slab.
Well, that's awkward. Sorry, Tate. I'll let you work that out with him. Because from memory, I think behind you've got that elusive Spider-Man 2099 white cover that came with the toy. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the Toy Biz. So this book is a second printing. Technically, it's a reprint. It came out 9 years after the original release of the book. It was sold in a blister pack with an action figure and was sold only at Toy Biz, it was only sold at KB Toy Stores. And KB Toy Stores was a toy store in the United States in the shopping malls. So that was the only place it was. The cover itself is a really thin paper cover. It's not a heavier duty paper like most of the books at that time. And it's got this black border that goes all around it. And so it takes spine ticks like no tomorrow. And when they're in that blister pack, what happens is they're hanging on peg hooks at the store. Kids would touch whatever, they fall to the ground and they get put back up there. Every time it falls, it impacts the book, gets impacted, whatever. Eventually, people went, "What the heck is this retarded Spider-Man?" Nobody's buying it, so it ends up in the bargain bin full of these action figures for $1 that people are just like churning through trying to find whatever. But this was a book that I wanted as a Spider-Man 2099 collector, and my friend Taylor Winder one day called me or texted me and alerted me that he was on an auction and somebody had the figure with the book all in one, and they were asking like $350 or something like that for the action figure with the book. And so I went and I bought it. At the time, the book in a 9.6 was selling for about $600-$700, and a 9.8 so a 9.8 has fluctuated because there's not a lot of them, but it fluctuates anywhere from about $1,200 to $2,000 in its retail price. Right now I think it's down to it's right around $1,400 roughly for a 9.8. And there's about, I think last I looked, this was about a year ago, the combined census between CBCS and CGC was less than 65 books in a 9.8 total. So when I made a decision to crack open that toy, it was really difficult because it was like I was trying to look in that blister pack and trying to see the condition, which was very hard and it was obscured to see, because if I could get the 9.8 or the 9.6, then great, I came out good. But if it was a 9.4 or less, then it was going to be worth less than the action figure was packaged with the book. And
I got to grab something.
Yeah.
Keep going. I got to grab something.
So I held on to it for like 7 or 8 months, hemming and hawing, and finally I couldn't take it anymore, and I said I gotta check it and try it, and very carefully extricated the book, had it cleaned, had it pressed, and I was super ecstatic when it came back a 9.8. I was blown away. Now, the only unfortunate thing is, I guess, if I were going to resell this, is it's probably about $100 less than the CGC version, just because it's in a CBCS slab for. But you know what? Who cares? I'm not selling it.
So does that mean when you see things like this today, you should be considering that as an option, as a resell, or is it something that has gone? It doesn't exist anymore. The reason why I'm asking is because with things like this, does that mean you should be taking this out and slabbing it and saying this is the Funko Pop variant? It just occurred to me.
You never know. I mean, I honestly, I think that a lot of these things, it just depends on what the collectors down the road think, right? First of all, the original book, and how many of those Funko ones are sold? How many people bought them? How many of them exist, right?
Yeah.
You got to remember, this was not, the Funkos, you could buy those anywhere the Funkos are sold, essentially. This was only at this one toy store. This was in the time before the internet. So there wasn't online sales. It was, you had to go to the shopping mall and you had to get that. And so there was definitely less of it. It was more esoteric, unpopular character. Spider-Man 2099 was not a popular character in, what was this, 2001? Yeah, 2001. When that book was, figure was released. Matter of fact, I really am confused why the character was even released as an action figure in 2001, because the comic book had been out of the 2099 Spider-Man had not been in production for a couple years at that point. So it's really weird.
But there's no book in that one either. That's
well, there's a book in there.
Oh, there is? I thought it was just the cover.
No, it's a full comic.
It's an actual book.
Oh, I thought it was just the cover. Okay, well, yes,
no.
Papa,
it's a full printing of the comic.
Okay, well then, yes, I am a moron.
Including there's an ad on the backside for Tony Hawk for milk and.
Oh, I had no idea. No, all this time I actually thought it was just the cover.
No.
Okay, so with so many books, then how do you keep track of them all? Do you have a CLZ? Do you have You've probably got a spreadsheet.
So I have spreadsheets, but that's not my main tracking, right? So my main tracking is CLZ. I keep my inventory there as far as raws and slabs and type stuff, and where they're what boxes they're in, all that fun stuff. My use of spreadsheets is usually primarily limited to books that are outside of my home. So when I send books off to a presser or to CGC, I tend to track those in a spreadsheet. Additionally, I have another spreadsheet that I keep some of the active runs that I'm seeking out. I keep them on a spreadsheet. Well, I have them in my CLZ that I can look at any given time. When I'm at a convention, I like to be able to have a physical printed paper, so I don't have to constantly be trying to connect to the internet at a convention. I can quickly just look at a piece of paper a lot quicker than trying to constantly flip between stuff within CLZ. Also, sometimes it makes it easier for me to share that hunt list with certain dealers that I'm friends with. That at a convention, I go, oh, here's a copy of my hunt list right now, my updated hunt list, and they're okay, cool, thanks. Yeah, So that's all I use spreadsheets for. I like the application. I think it's one of the CLZs, in my opinion. Not that I have a lot of experience with other apps, but is one of the greatest tools I could imagine for being able to not only keep track of your inventory, but also to search your inventory for specific things. I love being able to go like, oh, I'm going to a convention. Here are the artists that are at that convention that I'm interested in getting potentially signatures from. Okay, what books do I have that person worked on? And being able to search by that and having it bring up my list and go through, okay, oh, this book, yeah, let me have that book signed. Or that is amazing to me, because I wouldn't know otherwise.
Well, there's another good place where you might be able to grab some future books that might be worth something one day. It is Australia's #1 online comic book store. It is the sponsor for Aussieverse, Comic Bookaroo.
Comic Bookaroo, proud sponsors of Aussieverse. for all your comic book needs. Graphic novels, hardcovers, omnibuses, single issues. Don't forget to pre-order every Sunday at Comic Bookaroo.
So, Rob, as we come to the end of the show, because I know it is late for you, and I don't want to look at
we're at the end. Well, I'm good.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if you're done with me, you're tired of me. Okay, that's fine. I got it. I thought we were friends, Bo. I thought we were friends.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And yes, we are friends. You're my friend ever since you won me over with a box of chili. I do want to ask, what does the future lie for you, Rob? Not just with the channel, but with keys that you are possibly missing that you want to track down. What does the next year or so look like for you?
Yeah, so I always maintain a list of different keys that I'm seeking and hunting. I did a video not long ago where I kind of said, how I like to collect, and there's people. I found my problem in the past was a lot of people. You get these New Year's, you'll see a bunch of them in 20. Here's the 5 books or the whatever books I'm seeking this year. The problem with doing that type of a book, that type of a goal setting, is that I found I became hyper focused on those books, and that's all I looked at. I had blinders on for those books, and I missed out on opportunities on other books that maybe have been a better option because I was too busy focused on those. And then maybe I overpaid for those books because I just saw an opportunity. Oh, that's a good enough value. Let me just do that, right? Instead of letting the book come to me, I was seeking it out. So I like to run at any given time. I have a list of about 15 to 20 key issue books that I'm seeking. And I periodically just like to go through it. I'll go looking here or there. And I've mapped out on all those books. I've looked up the value charts and I've determined where is the nexus of value for me. What grade, at what price point will I get maximum value that I'm willing to spend? So I have a comfort range where usually for certain books. And so if I can sit there and go, oh, well, for $50 more, instead of getting a 3.5, I can get a 5.5. Well, I'm going to find a way to save up that extra $50 probably, because there's a lot more value in a book there for only $50 more. But so I keep that list. I have a list of these books, and it tells me, okay, for example, right now it's telling me Amazing Spider-Man 101 is on my list. It's one of the ones I'm looking to get, right? That I'm looking anywhere from a 6.5 to a 7.5 in that range, and that it should cost me anywhere from $250 to $500 in that grade range, right? So I'm looking, and I'll keep an eye out for them. And when I see something in that range that I want, that's at the right range, sometimes I'll go after it. Sometimes I'll hold off and I'll go, oh, I think I should still do better. Or maybe I go, oh, well, that's only on eBay. It's the higher end. I've got to pay taxes and I got to pay shipping on top of that, versus if I wait to go to a con, type of thing. So there's different elements that all factor into it. But I like to, by maintaining a list and being flexible and constantly updating and adding books to my list and reevaluating the value, it allows the books to come to you rather than you having to go out to them. And you're going to be better able to pick up those key books at a great price. A perfect example is I picked up a book here at the end of the year. It hasn't arrived yet, but it was on my hunt list all year long. I thought it was going to carry over. It was so it's the first appearance of Hawkeye. It tells a suspense. I've been looking at that book. I found, again, recently had gone through. I found one that it was on the border. It's like, okay, it's right at the limit of where I've marked I would like to spend on that book. And it seemed like it was a fair value. But I said, well, let me just watch it for a day or two and see. I'm going to gamble that somebody else doesn't swoop in and take it because it was under what everybody else was asking. versus let me see if somebody throws out, there's no way for me to make an offer. But let me see if he'll send an offer to me. Sure enough, he sent an offer. He, end of year, he's trying to move some inventory and he drops $100 off the price. Now all of a sudden that book is a deal, and that's going to cover my issue with shipping and tax. So it was a quick claim that, buy it and go with it, right? And that's not, I didn't go actively necessarily seeking out, but it came to me. It was one of the books I was watching. So, that's how I like to collect books. So this year, continuing that process the same. I'll do, when I go to here, I have several conventions I'm going to this year.
Hang on, there's something going on with your volume there.
Audio, yeah. It's cutting in and out.
How about now? Does it sound okay?
Yeah, okay.
All right. So as I go to various conventions throughout the year, I'll keep, again, that list. I like to go into conventions with an idea of a big book. That's like, for example, when I went to Heroes last year, I was looking for Brave and the Bold 28, First Justice League. I go in, that's my A list. I'm looking for that book. If I get that, here's my budget, here's the value I want. If I get that book, then I might be able to get a couple other little things. If I can't get that book, then here's my plan B. I can get these other books instead. And so, we go around. Can I find plan A? Yes, I was able to secure plan A. So that's the plan we went with. I think that having a plan, having a budget, and being flexible are all important things to successful collecting and getting the books that you want and not overpaying for them.
That's actually a really good plan. I like that. I haven't thought about it that way before, but yeah, I really do like that.
Rob, would you count the story that you mentioned earlier as one of your greatest finds? And if not, what would it be?
So your greatest finds, I think none of those ones I mentioned are probably my greatest finds. I think there's two that come to mind. One is my ASM1, and it's still, I paid more money for that book than I've ever paid for a book in my life. But when I found it, so it's a pence variant, and the person who was pricing the books just was pricing based off of last solds type thing. And the pence variants don't sell as often, so it had an older price basis that it was based off of. So they priced it about $1,000 under what the market was for an ASM1. So I spotted that. I thought that was super cheap. I looked it up. Sure enough, it was priced about $1,000 less. And so I called my wife and said, "Hey, I've got a crazy idea. This is what I'm thinking of doing this." And my wife, bless her, she goes, "Am I talking you into this or talking you out of it?" and I said, "Honestly, I just want to sound this off of you. I just want to talk out loud. And I didn't want to pull the trigger on a book that was several $1,000s and go, hey, honey, guess what I got without even talking to you," type of thing, right?
Yeah.
That's just, even though it's money that I had set aside for buying books, still, the successful to being married for 30 years is you consult, you talk.
Yeah, okay, good advice. So everybody listen to that one.
Yeah, so that's probably one of those ones from a dollar perspective goes. But I've gotten some other really cool ones at conventions where, like, I picked up an ASM 129 for like $400. That I just walk around stumbling again, just finding things. Even this GSX1. There were certain books that I came across. I find, you work the deal. You sound like you're not interested. You go elsewhere. Maybe you come back later. You gamble. Is it still going to be there or not? Right time. Cash is king at a con. And you work those deals and you go that stuff type thing. But unfortunately, I don't have any really great stories like, people who say, "Oh, I found this, Amazing Spider-Man 1 for $5 at a garage sale." I don't have any good stories like that, unfortunately.
That's pretty cool. So what about the channel? Anything coming up or changing, or is it still the same format and shows?
Yeah, pretty much the same format. I'm a creature of habit. I enjoy my format right now. Mondays we do, obviously a mail haul type of video. Thursday's the one that's the questionable. Is it more unboxing slabs? Is it mystery boxes? Is it product reviews? Whatever. That's kind of your hodgepodge day. And then Saturday only slabs. Saturday, we're booked up into March right now, so we're definitely going there. I got a long list of people that I'm reaching out to, but I always encourage folks themselves who are interested in being on the show to reach out to me. Don't wait for me to reach out to you. Please tell me that you're interested. It's a lot easier than me cold calling people. Or sometimes I don't even know that some people don't have obvious, like, oh, I have a bunch of slabs. They don't have a slab wall, or they don't post a bunch of pictures of slabs on their Instagram. I have no idea that they're a slab collector. And so I don't necessarily reach out to them. And then I find out later on, oh no, he's got like 300 slabs, well, son of a gun, and next thing you know, you get them on eventually. But yeah, so same old, man. We're going to keep running it. The membership and everything is still going to support Comics Curing Cancer. And we'll keep giving away good books.
Mads,
yeah,
I've got to address this. First of all, I think I've run out of how many people I can make mods, because as soon as I saw that comment, I went to my own channel to do that, and I don't see the option there. Second of all, Tate is a lot more active on Aussieverse than you are. And third of all, I'm pretty sure I'm not a mod on your channel. So, moving on.
Wow.
And if you're going to ship comic books, it is mandatory viewing of Rob's video on how to properly pack and ship. Absolutely, I would agree with that too. Rob's OCD is the greatest in the community. You do have videos on how to properly pack and ship, don't you?
A lot of people have done ones, but I think that I have, at least from a Gemini standpoint, I think I have the definitive video out there on it, because not only does it protect it, but it securely packages an item without using a shit ton of tape. Because I'm always cognizant of, like, when I send something to somebody, I want them to be able to do that unboxing and present it. And part of things like when they're fighting with a package and tape and everything else, that's annoying to them and everything else. And it's like, yeah, it's okay, nice, you package it all well, good, but it's not necessary. People do all this tape. They put things in bubble wrap and they tape that shit up. And it's like, but then you're putting that inside of a Gemini, and that Gemini is getting folded and taped up. Where the hell do you think it's going to go? You just need to fold that up, fold and tuck. I put one sticker on the label that helps hold it the one flap closed. That's it. And then it's also branding it for your marketing, right? That's it. You get sealed up. Easy.
Yeah, man. You got to see the way I used to pack slabs. I used to get so scared and paranoid about making that sale, getting the money, and then when it arrives, something's wrong, right? Because of the way you've packed it. So I would overpack to the shit house, and sometimes I would send a slab or two, and the boxes would just be massive, and I'd wear the cost of the extra things, right. But the bubble wrap and the tape and the padding and I am making sure this gets there 100% safely.
So, but here's the thing. So I'm a big thing when it comes to packing, right? People who wrap books and slabs in bubble wrap, that's fine. But if you're wrapping it tight and taping it tight, you've now made that bubble wrap virtually ineffective. It should be loose, so that way there is crush and compact. It doesn't need to be tight and taped down to super tight. So leaving it loose and stuff is ultimately better. I prefer, now for me, we ship, because when I ship slabs, I ship them mostly in the States. For those ones, we have a product out here from a company called Slab Shipper, who makes specially designed foam inserts that go inside of our U.S. mail boxes that allow you to just slide like up to 3 or 4 slabs in a single box, and that it's completely encapsulated in styrofoam and has little inserts and stuff that go in there, and they're fabulous. And I spend the money on those because it's the most efficient way to ship them. It's easy for the person on the other end, and it costs me less money in shipping. But yeah, you want to piss me off, Papa? Yeah, definitely tape the shit out of it and then use packing peanuts. Anybody who uses loose packing peanuts in a box is telling you that they don't like you.
Spidey, I fixed that up. You're now a mod. Now the last step is you now need to be a 4-lifer, which is a paid member. Good work, son. So what else did I have for you here? So I know that people in the collected editions game, like me and Sharifa, we have a joke which is true as much as it is funny, that sometimes you'll walk into your room like this and you'll just stand there for a minute and you'll just go, yeah, I'm really grateful. I'm really happy with all of this that I've got, because you've got a room that you can just look at and go, yeah, these are all my books. What is it? Here is my stuff from Thor. Do you have? I don't know how slabs are. Well, some people have them in vaults. Some people just have them lying around. Whatever area that you have all your hundreds of slabs in, do you ever go to that area?
Hundreds. You're adorable.
Do you ever go to that area and just look at it and go, yeah. So, I mean, obviously I have, there's obviously this room where I have some of the big stuff, but in my garage, because I live in an area where the normal temperature is actually ideal for storing paper. So I can store these books in my garage, and I have walls of shelving and rolling shelves that move around in front of other shelves and stuff, just with boxes and boxes of comics that I can go through. I can pull them out. I go out there and I look, or start going through or reorganizing stuff and consolidating things, or going through boxes. Right now I have a project with my slabs where I'm going through and double checking, first of all, that the books that are in the box are correctly in the right box assigned, because sometimes I have moved books around and I forget to update, or sometimes I update it but there's a sync issue. So I am going through and rechecking those, and at the same time I'm also adding the serial numbers for each slab into CLZ, because originally when I got most of my slabs, that wasn't a field that you could enter, but now you can enter the serial number. And I want to have those because those serial numbers are important to have from an insurance standpoint, or anything else goes. So that's how I'm tracking those. So I do get to go through them. Sometimes I just like to go through, I'll pull out like all my art slabs and I'll just go through, I'll sit out there in my garage, put on some music and kind of look through them. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, man, I spend hours, like not in one go, but just over the year, constantly putting this crap in order. And I spend way too much time doing that. Do you ever find yourself doing that, or have you got a system like sort of down pat where you sort of know where everything is, or have you got like X-Men and then Spider-Man, and then how does that work for you?
So for me, my raw books are in boxes, typically by title. So there'll be Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1, and it'll be then in sequential order from there, right? But sometimes you have but sometimes you're moving stuff around. So like my active box, there's my archive boxes, and then there's the active, my weekly pull boxes and stuff that I'm collecting, right? And so in some of those boxes, there may be 2 or 3 titles in a single box, but eventually it grows and I have to shift stuff around. So there's an element of shift that happens, or this box is now full. Okay, we need to take the books out of this box and put them into an archive box. Make sure that all the books in archive bags and boards, and then put them into the archive storage versus my active bin storage. So there's different elements of things that happen with that.
Good on you, Smarty. That's a good one. Okay, yeah, Sharif, ask something. You've just been more eye candy tonight.
I am just sitting here being a fan of just absorbing the knowledge that Rob is spewing.
So all of these links that I have been sharing for Rob, whether it be Comics Curing Cancer or his own YouTube and all that, that's not in the description of the video yet because it's live. I don't know why I have to do it after, but all of those links will be in the video 5 minutes after we finish this.
You could actually do it ahead of time.
But when
I'll teach you later, because if you go to all my Only Slab ones that are booked, if you go look at them, you'll see that all the links for those guests are already populated in there.
Well, see, what annoys me is that you've got a feature on StreamYard that says automatic default upload, whatever the crap is, right?
That's for YouTube.
Yeah, but that it doesn't work.
It only works for videos that you upload through YouTube. If you any of your live streams that you do through StreamYard, those do not. So you have to populate those in StreamYard when you're creating the show. You can edit the description, and you can then populate the description there, and then that will then push over to YouTube.
Because then when I go to YouTube Studio before the show tonight, it won't actually have this episode there because it only shows the live ones in YouTube Studio after they've been done. So that's why I always go after the show and add the description.
But you can put it in your when you set this in StreamYard, you put the description in ahead of time as part of doing it, and it will be there. Then you can look at your upcoming lives. See, so here's a suggestion I'm going to make to all of you in YouTube, potential YouTubers out there. One of the things that's very complicated when somebody makes a decision to go to live broadcasting. Initially, a lot of us do recorded, but eventually people go to lives, either because they want to interact with you guys, the audience, or because they're just freaking lazy. Either way, it doesn't matter. They do. But if you're scheduling lives, the default for YouTube does not show upcoming lives in your stuff. It only shows your recorded content or your past lives. So when people come trying to find your upcoming live, it is difficult to locate sometimes. All you have to do is go in and customize your channel, so that way one of the elements that shows is your upcoming lives right on your homepage. So if you go to my channel, for example, you'll see right underneath, first is the suggestions for you that are tailored to you. And right below that are upcoming lives. And those are the future lives that I have scheduled. So that way it's super easy to find any of those upcoming lives.
I don't believe you. I'm checking right now.
You got that?
You know what? I'll do this later because that's going to take me too long.
Oh no! Dude, go ahead, do it right there. Go ahead, bring it up, and then you can even see that the description is already pre-populated. Like I said.
So, with the amount of keys that you buy, then Rob, how many eBay alerts do you have going at once?
Very few.
Oh, really?
So I don't set up like. Because I like to kind of let things come to me or else, I know that you can set up alerts for, hey, if you see this book come up in this rant, whatever. I've just never really set that up. Call me lazy, whatever. I don't know. And so I don't get those alerts. So instead, the only time I get alerts really is if I'm actively bidding on something. I might get an alert, but most of the times I miss those. I don't hear them go off. And so there's a lot of books that I missed out on a book over on Christmas that sold for way under what it should have sold for. I'm really sad I forgot about it, because I would have definitely bid more on this to get that book. But you know what? That's just part of the game. And because that's my own fault, but I'm not, I'm serious about it, but at the same time, it's just a hobby.
Yeah, fair enough.
Not for this guy.
Yeah,
but he's not buying individual keys. He's just buying collected editions. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
How serious can you be? No. I'm just teasing.
Oh, them's fighting words. But there's a few toys as well. I just got lucky last week. You know those giant Green Lantern replica lanterns, right? I've had the green one for years and years, and I've always wanted the other ones, but they're so impossible to find. And if you do find them, they're way too expensive. And I finally got that freaking yellow one, man, for a lot less than I would have thought. And that's going through years of eBay alerts of there's another one for sale, but it's $600. There's another one for sale, but it's $1,000. All right, let's take it back. Let's take it back.
Here you go. Rob. Go ahead, pop it up.
Pop what up? Oh,
sure. The share screen.
I didn't see this.
So that's what I was saying. So here it comes here. You come right, boom, upcoming live streams. So there's all the upcoming live streams for next. I got several that are in queue, and we can go to any of them. We can go. Let's look at this one here for January 11th. We can click on it, and then we have a description. We click on more, and here you go. Here's all the links. So you can do all that as part of your StreamYard.
See, because I'm looking at my customization here as well, and things are just way too confusing for me. Maybe I'm a simple-minded person. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. Past live streams, is it?
That's one of them, but there's future live streams is another one.
All right, you know what? I'm going to share my screen now.
Live tutorial.
So yeah, I've got past live streams, videos, blah, 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 blah. Where's the current live streams?
Hold on. There should be somewhere you can add. Offline, I'll go over this with you. I'll find it. I'll go over it with you.
Here we go. Yeah, but if you miss out on initial release from Omni and it goes OOP, then it's hard to get on the secondary market.
Oh,
Thank you.
No. I that's why I was really just teasing. I understand that out of print, Omnis can get super expensive. They're not cheap they're technically not cheap to begin with, but I mean, because they are a collected edition, you're paying for all those together. But then, when they go out of print, those are. I was surprised. I thought it was something that you don't. Not being a collector of them, you don't think about that. The fact that they have those types of values as well too that can go up. No, we're not quite the same. I mean, I don't know. Are there omnibuses that sell for thousands of dollars?
Not thousands, but for example, I just saw a guy post up in our group, Uncanny X-Men Omnibus Volume 1 to 4, and I think he was asking for $1,500 or close to that, which he was selling them for about $200 to $250 each. And I looked at and I messaged the guy and I went, look, man, I'm not saying they're not worth that, but I'm telling you right now that nobody around Christmas, especially, is going to drop $1,000 on 4 Omnis. Don't get me wrong, you might get that one person that's in a better financial position and is willing to do that, but generally the people that I know are not in a position to do that and wouldn't. You'd have much more better luck selling them individually. But I typically wouldn't spend more than $200 on a single Omni, which is becoming a lot harder in this day and age, to be honest.
That's fair.
Yeah. When I started collecting Omnis, the big ones would be about $170, and now that's just the normal smaller ones. While the bigger ones now are over $200, and it's an absolute joke, and which is why people like Sharif cheat, and they go to in-stock trades and they buy all their Omnis from them and get it sent to an American address and then get it sent over here, which I am. That's why I'm friends with Sharif. Let's take it back now. All the way back to when Rob didn't have so much of a Fat Stax, and he was commonly known back in those days as just Rob. Rob, when you were a young man, or maybe you weren't, maybe you're in your teens, I don't know, maybe you're in your 20s or 30s. Either way, you still had a gorgeous beard, because I could never picture you without the beard and the stash. what is it that got you into comics originally? What was it that you saw that went, ooh, that's it? And why did it have to do with maximum clonage?
So I did not start collecting comics until actually I was in college. It was I had been up until that point, all my consumption of comic book related content was vis-a-vis cartoons. So, Super Friends, the Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, that type of stuff. Electric Company Spider-Man and the Japanese Spider-Man live action stuff, and all these types of things. And then later on, maybe like I would read the Sunday Funnies as a kid. That was the thing you always to grab on Sunday. The funnies were in color here in America. I don't know how they're like that up there, but so there'd be dailies. You would have daily strips in the newspaper. Those were all just black and white. Never read them, didn't care. But on Sunday you had full color comics, funnies section, and I would read those. But as far as superhero and traditional comic books, it wasn't until I was in college. I went to a military school for my first year of college, and there was you have no privileges, no permissions, no nothing early on, and you don't get to read anything. You don't get to listen to music. You don't get anything. When we finally get what they call recognized, and you become an official member of the classmen, we got to go to the PX store and start to buy things for yourself. And there was a spinner rack of a couple of spinner racks there, and I was looking for something to read to pass some time that wasn't textbooks. Looked at the comic books there. I found this beautiful red, shiny, foily Spider-Man 2099 #1.
Oh, no shit, really?
Yeah, okay. And I said, so there you go. It was 1992. And I saw that book and I was like, I know the character Spider-Man. I always liked the character Spider-Man. What's this Spider-Man 2099? I don't know. It looked really cool.
Yeah.
And the red foil was attractive to me. And it was a #1. I said, this is a great hopping on point. I'm in. And so that was it. I just picked that book up and I started reading some also Fantastic Four at the time. And that was right around the time the new Fantastic Four, right before Thing gets his face slashed and all the other stuff. So yeah, that Spider-Man 2099 was my first comic book that I picked up off the spinner rack at there, and that's how that became 2099. Was just like this thing that I was into, and I read comics then from that point on, basically for several years in college. And I would read Spider-Man 2099. I'd read Amazing Spider-Man. I'd read Wolverine, Fantastic Four. Those were basic things. And I think then dabble every once in a while with like Wet Works or some other Image title or something here and there. But then fucking Maximum Clonage happened. and let me preface this. I mean, when I talk about Maximum Clonage, I mean the storyline Maximum Clonage, not the Clone Saga. The Clone Saga in of itself was okay, but Maximum Clonage was just obscene. And it was so awful and so bad that I sold my entire comic collection and walked away from comics and did not. I don't know how you couldn't. So, but also keep in mind, also around that time too, I was starting to get ready to move out on my own and was getting ready to get engaged. And I didn't yet quite know. I knew that my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, I knew that she was a bit geeky, but I didn't realize that she was also into comics. So it was another reason to get rid of all my comics. I didn't know she was into them. But yeah, then I was done with comics for years. And it wasn't until my son was, like 4 or 5 years of age or something. Basically, it was right around the time that Star Wars comics got relaunched in Marvel here. And we went to right after Avengers movie, I think it was. So we went to the comic store. I wanted him to read some more. So we went down to the comic store to pick up some books that he was interested in. So pick up some Star Wars, pick up some Avengers, some Miles Morales, Spider-Man, whatever. And while he was reading those, I would read them as well because I was paying for them, and started getting the bug again. Started adding a few books onto my pull list for me. And then eventually he quit reading books, and I just kept on going. And here we are today.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Okay, I apologize in advance. But
you're going to try to trigger me. Got it.
No, I'm not going to try and trigger you at all. I swear, I am genuinely want to know why. So, okay, here I am reading Clone Saga, right? Mm-hmm. And I am totally addicted, right? Every week I would hop the train and I would go to my comic book store and I would pick up my latest Spider-Man issues, and I just couldn't wait to read the next chapter, whether it be one of the 4 Spider-Man comics that were on that were going every month, right?
Right.
I was obviously a little bit younger than you as well, and money wasn't. I didn't know how I actually kept up with the Clone Saga. With the little bit of pocket money and whatever that I would have had at that time. But I somehow made it work, and I consistently kept buying Spider-Man, right? Now, every time you thought the Clone Saga was going to end, it didn't. It just kept going, right? And as much as it was annoying, because I remember saying to myself, I need to stop spending all my money on comics. The Clone Saga is going to end soon. I'll keep going until it's over. And then it wouldn't end, and then it wouldn't end, and then it wouldn't end. But at the same time, I was still loving it, right? I remember when Maximum Clonage came out, I was so pumped for that, because to me, it was like the WrestleMania of this whole Clone Saga. It was everything was going to culminate and end in Maximum Clonage. It didn't, but that's what it was advertised to be, right? And Maximum Clonage comes, and you've got the Jackal with his bomb that he's going to put on all of humanity. You've got Spider-Side. You've got all these other elements. And I just freaking loved it, man. I just adored it. What was it that you not only didn't like, but you hated so much that you walked away from comics?
So keep in mind, I've never picked this up to reread this story in all this time. So the details of the story at this point are pretty blurry in my mind. But I had no problem, again, with the Clone Saga. I was fascinated by Ben Reilly and the Scarlet Spider and some of the cool new webbing that they gave him, and his look was really kind of cool. And I thought it was, as a kid, as a young adult, I ate it up. I thought it was cool. And one clone is fine. But I was already kind of like, you remember Maximum Clonage came out after Maximum Carnage.
Yeah.
I was fed up. Carnage was fine, but the whole fucking Maximum Carnage storyline I just felt it got lazy and convoluted and ridiculous at the time. And then comes Maximum Clonage, and it did what Maximum Carnage did, but did it on a foot with freaking clones. And we brought a billion different versions of different clones. And I'm like, dude, we're turning out clones like they're freaking sea monkeys. It's not, this is not. It was just ridiculous. There's so many of them. They were just all over the place, and it was driving me crazy. I couldn't tolerate it. Just very much what the Spider-Verse, Edge of Spider-Verse comics are doing right now.
Yeah.
I feel like I stopped reading it because I felt flashbacks to Maximum Clonage. But it's like, we're not using clones now. Instead, we're just using different spider people from different freaking universes, and we're just introducing a billion of them for no purpose other than we're gonna just to have them here and have a bunch of these things do things together. So that's my vague recollection of that. There was just a lot of stuff going on. I didn't think I thought the story was super convoluted. It had no real direction to it, and was just gimmicky. And I just didn't like it, and it just turned me off. And so, yeah, I made a decision to walk away. But I wasn't as vested in comics then as I am today either. I mean, look, I don't like a lot of what's going on with ASM, but I still buy ASM today. You know, I don't know why. I just kind of do.
Yeah.
I guess I'm a masochist who's eternally hopeful. But you know, so who knows? Maybe I've grown up and matured on that aspect. But back then, I only had when I say I sold all my comics, I had 2 long boxes and 2 short boxes. You know, it wasn't like I had what I have today.
So did you ever, when you came back to comics, did you continue reading Maximum Clonage after to see what happened?
Oh, no.
Okay. I don't remember.
So I mean, look, ultimately, here's what's happened. I started reading Amazing Spider-Man from wherever it was. And I've got books in my collection of stuff, and I've glanced through some of them and some of the stuff that goes on. And I have ideas of what, some stuff's going on, but I also haven't actually sat down to read this whole thing that they did with all Brand New Day stuff, or I haven't read that story. I don't want to read that story. I was away from comics during it. It pisses me off that they did that story. I know what happened in it, and so there's no way I'm going to bother to even though I have the books, I haven't opened them to read them. I have no desire to, because if I was collecting comics at the time, I probably would have been pissed off, sold everything off again, and gotten out of comics. Then again, for them breaking up Peter and MJ in that way.
It's just I agree with you. So is Spider-Man or Spider-Man 2099 your favorite character, or is it somebody else?
Spider-Man and Miguel O'Hara's Spider-Man 2099 are probably the characters that I do enjoy the most overall, but I don't like what's going on in with the characters right now today. They're the ones I have fondest memories of. How's that? Ultimately today, I like Ultimate Spider-Man. That Peter Parker story I find is more interesting to me. Some of the stuff, reading the Batman title and stuff, some of that stuff's a little more interesting to me at times. But I don't know what Marvel's doing with Spider-Man, and it's but I mean, it's the one, like I said, it's the one I'm the most connected to, and I feel the closest to, because I think ultimately, I was young, I was a bit of a geek, I was a nerdy guy. I was I wasn't super popular in when I was in school and stuff necessarily. So I think it's super easy to relate to that nerdy guy who's not the super most popular or anything else in school, that young Peter Parker. That was super easy to understand and relate to. Which is why I think he's such a popular character overall. I think people can relate to that, but that's not who he's been though for hundreds and hundreds of issues. Instead, now he's just a tragic, he's more of a tragic being who's constantly life just shits on all the time. And that's a completely different thing. It's like, and people can relate to, things aren't going right for them, but I mean, but eventually most people get a bounce back. He never gets a bounce back. It's like he's just constantly being shit upon. Yeah. And that's where I kind of feel like where the connection is starting to wane with that character these days is that. Now, when it comes to Spider-Man 2099, I haven't cared for the more recent stuff they've done with that character. I like the original stuff, this concept, the original 2099 universe, this concept of corporations having taken over the government and stuff. It sounded so kind of far-fetched, but you could sort of see it. But nowadays, does the concept of megacorps running a country seem out of place? I don't know. We seem to have Elon Musk seems to have an awful lot of power for having never not been elected to anything. You know, you got all these corporations and through lobbyists and stuff that have so much power and influence over governments and whatnot. Who's to say that, you know, we're not that far away from the 2099 reality and stuff? And that was really interesting to me. That whole element and where the government was the bad guy necessarily was really kind of cool.
One thing that annoys me is the fact that I remember working out many, many years ago that I wouldn't be alive to see 2099 and just to see what the world is actually like. That annoys me. I wish I could do something about it.
You don't know what science will be like then. Papa is asking, what percentage of comics do you read? Be honest. So of my, I would say, so of my weekly pulls, that's the stuff that I read, right? So most of my back issues and stuff that I buy, sometimes I will thumb through them and read every once in a while, read a few of them while I'm rebagging and boarding stuff. But I don't religiously go back and read all these back issues and stuff. But of the stuff that comes in on a regular basis, if you exclude all the variant covers, I probably right now today am reading 80% of what I pull every week. Sometimes it may dip depending upon what's going on, what's actually being pulled at any given time. But right now, I'd say it's pretty high. I've weaned down a lot of the books that I wasn't reading, and I've started reading some of the books that I had just been picking up for the sake of picking up, and found them interesting. So,
what's been the most surprising new title that you've ever read? Just on a whim, and you've been like, "Wow, this is really cool." Actually,
Absolute Wonder Woman.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I've actually heard good things about the whole Absolute universe. I'm looking forward to reading it myself.
So, yeah, it was like I picked up Absolute Wonder Woman. I was really just picking up the first book just to have the number one. I don't know, whatever. And I read it, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. It wasn't my favorite. Batman, Absolute Batman number one was my favorite of the number ones. But it garnered enough interest in me that when I picked up the second book and I read that, and then I really, really shifted, and I was like, oh, I really like the way this is written so far. So now I have the third, issue 3 is here for me to read. So, and I'm actually now interested. I've shifted from, I picked this up, I might as well read it, to I'm genuinely interested to read it now. So in a very short time, it's turned around. The other one that was really a big surprise to me, was probably Transformers. I watched the TV show again. I never read a Transformer comic really up until very recently. I picked up the Last Bot Standing series. That was like the first time I ever picked up a Transformer comic and read it. But then this thing, everybody had been talking about Daniel Warren Johnson. Oh, Murder Falcon was amazing. Oh my God, Do a Powerbomb was amazing. Oh, he's going to do Transformers. And I was like, oh man, there's hype train on this guy. This is interesting. Well, maybe I might as well pick this up. And right out of the gates, holy cow, surprised me so much with how good it was, and turned so many preconceptions of what I expected the series was going to be, completely turned them on their head. And I have absolutely been loving that series. And I never thought that I would love Transformers series. I mean, I could see myself maybe liking it, but I mean, loving it, where it's like, that's like the first book I want to read when I get it. That is insane to me. Never would have expected it, but kudos to him. He's living up to the hype.
Yeah, people keep saying that, and it makes me really want to read it. Sharif, is there a collected edition for this yet? A hardcover? I know there's a trade, isn't there?
2 trades. And the deluxe is coming out, I think, the first half of next year.
Okay, I'm going to have to get that deluxe, I think, and see what the big deal is. Is that separate from Void Rivals, or is it just concurrently with it?
Yeah, so they're within the same universe.
It's part of the Energon universe. But what I've heard is you can read it independently and not get the other series as well.
Yeah,
So
I'm
you're
not
reading
reading.
No.
No.
Okay. All right. Well, what else would you like to talk about, Rob? Meat?
No, I think we covered a good gamut of stuff here. I mean, we talked about the origin, we talked about this, we talked about that. We did it with a wiffle ball bat. So I'm on the run. The cops got my gun right now. It's time to have some fun, right? Oh, sorry. Those are lyrics from a. Anyways, yeah. So, Bo, what's coming up for you on your channel?
Actually, we've got nothing planned. Actually, this was the last show.
No New Year's plans on kicking off the new year for the Aussieverse.
No, not that we've talked about. Actually, we do have a potential really huge guest. Actually, that I messaged about.
I'm
3
coming
months
back,
ago.
huh?
We messaged the ex-president of DC Comix, Paul Levitz, about 3 months ago, and he was really polite, and he said, "Look, I'm actually booked up for the year, but if you could message me back in January, we can work something out." So apart from that, I don't think we've got anything coming up. Let me just check my calendar. No, nothing there. Nothing there. No, we've got nothing. We've got absolutely.
You have no regular schedule, huh?
Yeah, no, we do. We typically like to record our FOC videos every Tuesday and upload them every Wednesday, and then we just pop something up every Friday. That's our minimum, because when you're
so
into
what you're saying
edition,
is upcoming on your channel, you have an FOC upload coming up for next Wednesday.
Actually, contrary to what I just said, we are skipping the next 2 weeks. We are skipping the next 2 weeks, and the reason why we decided to do that is because the FOCs are really, really thin. I'm going away next week, and yeah, there's just not much to talk about. So we will be having a 2-week break. Thank you for bringing that up, Rob, so that people don't tune in next week expecting the weekly FOC video that we have been doing every single week. Oh wow, look at this! Thank you very much, Spidey. That's appreciated.
Have you thought about doing like a collected edition book club?
A collected edition book club. So what would that entail? That would be like what?
Like any book club. You all have a particular title. You guys just sit there and you're going to read it, and then you come on and you discuss what you read.
Yeah, I guess we could. You know what? We have tried things like that a long time ago. And I just don't think it works, man. I would be up for it, but when you voting for the book is easy, but getting everybody to read it by a certain time and being available to, what? Let's do it, Sharif. I'm just making excuses.
That's your mood. Yeah, okay, let's do it.
Okay. Well, what else? What other ideas can you give Aussieverse?
Have you thought about trying to eat your omnibuses with pepper sauce?
If I didn't love them so much and I had multiple copies, yes, that is something that I could do. Yes, and one of our members, Bit of Strange, is saying give it a crack. So you know what, we will. Great commitment, Sharif. Hey, Sharif had hardly anything to say, and he sat here for nearly 2.5 hours just looking at the beauty that is Rob. So well done, Sharif. Okay,
Sharif, what's coming up for you on your channel? And you got anything going on your channel?
Well, funny you should say that. I've got a full box of Kickstarters that have come in the past few months, which has been sitting there, and I've told Bo that we should be doing it, but not yet. But we will this start of the year. I do have my most recent customs ready, so that should come out in the first month, next week. I don't know.
And you know what else we haven't done? We used to do what we've been reading every month, and I don't think we've done it for 2 months. So yeah, we'll probably do that in January and do a big episode of that. Plus, we always seem to have hauls all the time.
Yeah.
So
make sure one of the things to do with your book club thing is make sure you also announce what it is that you guys will be reading, and throughout as you're leading up to it's coming up, you keep mentioning it, so that way some of your audience, your regulars, if they wish to go and read these things on their own, they can do so as well, so that when they join watching you guys discuss it, they can participate in the chat with the discussion on what you guys have read together.
Rob, do you want to be Aussieverse's manager? Because I'm sort of liking this. Do you want to be Aussieverse's manager? I like it. You've got time in your day. It's not like you do much.
It's right around the time when I normally sleep.
All right. Well, then I do have one last question for you, Rob.
Yes, sir.
If I was to turn around to you and say, what is Aussieverse? What would your answer be?
Exactly that.
What is Aussieverse? What would your answer be?
Who is Aussieverse?
What is Aussieverse? What would your answer be? Last chance.
I have no idea. Aussieverse is an experience that can't be experienced in one sitting. You must subscribe and watch it over and over again.
All right. Well, Rob, that is completely inaccurate. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was a great answer, but no, that is completely wrong. What is Aussieverse? It is always and will be for life. We will catch you very soon next year with a lot of new shows, because that's what Rob is demanding of us, and we're not going to let him down. Please go check out Rob's channel, Rob's Fat Stax Comics on YouTube. Go check out Comics Curing Cancer, which is still ongoing, and there is many things that you need to be out there in the world checking out, mainly us on YouTube, because tonight you have spent nearly 2.5 hours watching us, and we really appreciate it, because hell, you could be watching a movie, you could be watching a TV show, you could even be spending time with your loved ones, but instead you've decided to spend time with us, and that really means the world to us. Rob, any last words of wisdom to the world?
Collect what you want. Don't listen to anybody, especially me. I'm just a fat man with a fat stack of comics and a fat opinion. Thanks for watching.
Lastly, after hundreds and hundreds of videos, the first time anybody has said that. Good work, Papa Wheelie, because that is actually 100% true. And thank you. Good night, all. We will catch you soon. Have a wonderful, safe, fantastic, and joyous new year. We'll see you next